A place to mend, number 10 from the Raven, Revenge, and the Reckoning. I woke in the loft above the widow's wash-house. Cedar's boards creaked under me as I stood, pulling on the old clothes she'd given me, her husband's before he passed. Smelled like dust and soap. Through the slats in the boards, I could see a line of gray light stretching across the horizon. Still early. I climbed down the ladder, careful not to wake the house, and stepped out into the cold morning air. Sky was wide and empty, the kind of quiet that gets into your bones. Buck nickered when he saw me. I fed him, watered him, and working quiet with my hands. That always helped. The barn was still, and the dew on the fence rails clung like breath. Just as I stepped out, the wash-house door creaked open behind me. Mara stood there, shawls wrapped around her shoulders. "I'll have breakfast ready shortly," she said. "If you'd like," I told her, "I can feed the remuda too." She pointed to the hay with a nod. I didn't say much. I got to work. By the time I came back to the house, arms full of split wood, the smell of salt pork and fried potatoes was already drifting out the door. She waved me in without a word. Her daughter, Lottie, came down the stairs just as I was sitting. They didn't talk much at first, and neither did I, but the silence wasn't heavy. We eased into it. Lottie was bright, asked good questions, had a laugh in her that didn't sound like worn out by the world yet. After breakfast, Mara asked if I'd carry in more wood. I split what was left and carried it in. Then I offered to take Lottie for a ride if she didn't mind. Lottie looked at her mother. Her mother just nodded. I brought Buck out of the barn, tying him to a hitching rail. I asked Lottie if they had a curry comb. She said she thought they did, and went to the barn. "Got it," she said. "So, Lottie, have you ever handled a horse much or helped saddle one?" She shook her head. "No, actually, Pa was going to teach me to saddle this summer. He's getting on, not a colt anymore, but I've seen horses like him stay healthy till 20, I said. Lottie smiled. "That'd give me 8 years. "I reckon so," I said, smiling back. "I'll be 23 by then. That seems old." "Seems rather young to me." She laughed. "How old are you, Killian?" I wiped a hand across my brow. "Hard to believe, but I'm 40. "You're old then," she teased. "You think so, huh? Well, we'll see how you like Buck, and then maybe we can talk about a trade if your mother agrees." I took the curry comb from her and started brushing Buck's coat. "It's been a while since he had a good brushing," I said wryly. Then I handed it back to her and showed her how to brush it until every bit of dirt was gone. I walked to the barn, grabbed my saddle, and brought it out to the rail. I set the blanket carefully on Buck, showing Lottie how to smooth it flat and check for lumps. Then I threw the saddle on. "All right, old boy," I said as Buck shook himself out. We're about to get a little break from what you've been used to." I finished setting the saddle and swung up. I showed Lottie how Buck handled, then trotted him back. "You need help mounting?" "No, I think I can do it." I watched as she stepped up, grabbed the horn with her left, reaching for the stirrup. She fumbled a bit, but got her foot in and swung up. Buck didn't flinch, stood like a war horse. "You ever ride before?" "A little. I've just never saddled one myself." She walked Buck out to the road, turned left, and rode a few hundred yards, and circled back to the corral. "Keep those horses in here in the corral?" "Keep these horses here in the corral?" I asked. Lottie nodded. "They've been here since Pa died, 5 months now, but Ma thinks it's time to start working them. They're running low on hay." She brought Buck back around, stopped at the hitching rails. "What do you think?" I asked. She smiled as I gave her a hand down. "I really like him. If Mama says it's okay, I'd like to trade." "Well, we'll ask her. Why don't you take me to the corral, and we'll see if any of those broncs out there are worth putting a saddle on." She led me over. I set one foot on the bottom rail. "What do you think?" she asked. A dozen 4-year-olds milled around the corral eating. "Well," I said, pointing, "that Grula gelding looks good." "That was Pa's favorite," she said. "Said he didn't find many with those markings." "And he's right," I replied. "And that iron gray mare over there," I nodded toward the opposite rail, short-barreled, thick-necked, all muscle. She followed my gaze. "That one looks strong. Built different than the gelding. Gelding's lean, made for long miles, but that mare, she's got power. Might be a sprinter. Hard to say for sure until you ride one." "Well, okay," she said, smiling. "Let's go ask Mama." As we walked back toward the house, I asked, "Where's your wrangler now?" "You said he saddled some of these?" "He's out with the wagon," Lottie said, "but last fall I watched him ride every day." "Did you learn anything watching?" She looked up at me. "You really want to know?" "I do. You seem like a smart girl." She gave a soft shrug. "Honestly, that iron gray mare was my favorite. She bucked him off every time he saddled her, but he said she'd turn out." "Any of them been handled before that?" "Not much. Pa kept them out in the box canyon until they turned 4. We'd throw hay to them in the winter, so they're not as wild as some, but still," she trailed off, then added, "He worked for the J.A.'s ranch in Texas when he was younger. Said their 4-year-olds were worse than these." I nodded. How many men does your mother have working for her? Lottie looked up. Well, we have the wrangler Bill Puck, our jigger boss, a cook, and 5 cowboys. Our foreman quit last fall. I was doing the math in my head, wondering how many cattle their outfit could run. The more I thought about it, the more I was impressed I was with Mara running this outfit. We headed back inside. Mara met us at the door. There's work here, she said. No one's been on those horses since he passed, if you're willing. I am, I said. She offered pay. I declined. By afternoon, I was back at the corral saddling the first. The day stretched ahead. Dust, muscle, sun, and the hard language of hooves and sweat. Lottie sat on the rail, wide-eyed, watching. Mara came out once, arms folded, watching too. 12 horses, 12 chances to start again. That afternoon, I stepped up to the rail and nodded toward the gruel gelding. I think I'd like to try him now. Picking up my lariat, I spun out a loop, a couple of overhand flicks of the wrist. I opened it up, approached the horse, dragging my loop. The gruel stood stiff at the far end of the pen, already reading the shift in energy. I spun the rope low and let it whisper through the air. It dropped soft and true around the gelding's neck. He blew and bolted and hit the end hard, but I was already moving, dallying to the center post. The rope went tight and he fought it, throwing his head, lunging back and forth in the dust. I didn't move fast, just held steady, letting the rope run out or pulling in as it needed. The colt wore himself down. When the fight turned into breath, I stepped in slow and slid the halter on. All right, I said, voice low, hand firm on the rope. Let's get to know each other. I led the gruel into another smaller pen and saddled him slow. The gelding sidestepped, jittery, but didn't blow up again. I cinched him up tight, gave him a moment, and then swung up smooth. The gelding stiffened, crow-hopped several times, and then moved off at a trot. I worked him in circles, changing directions. Gave him room to settle, and it didn't take long. When we came back to the gate, I was grinning. He got sense, I said to Lottie. Strong-minded, but a good horse. I didn't dismount. I just looked toward the white mare in the far pen. I want her out of the way. Lottie's eyes widened. She's wild, I know. We haltered her with effort, blindfolded her just to lay the blanket. She trembled the whole time, breathing heavy through her nostrils, until I laid a hand on her shoulder. Then she squealed. Getting the saddle on was a fight. She reared, plunged, and struck out. Nearly broke loose, but we got it done. I mounted, still blindfolded. Pull that blind off her eyes, Lottie. She reached out, lips pressed together. She pulled it off slowly and then ran back to the fence. The white mare stayed frozen, not moving a muscle. I stayed dead still as well. I've seen this game before, I said. It's like one of them staring matches where whoever looks away first loses. Except this time, it's whoever moves first. You watch, she's going to blow. I waited a minute and then put a little pressure on the right-handed rein to pull her head around. She stutter-stepped and blew. My head snapped back and I grabbed leather, but it was too late. Next jump, I went head first into the water trough. I scrambled up, water pouring off in sheets. I tried to jump out of the tank and tripped. I hit the dirt hard, rolled, got up, laughed, dust streaking through my face. All right, girl. Second time I mounted the mare, it went the same way. But the third time must have been the charm because I managed to get my rhythm. She bucked in a straight line all the way to the corral fence and started circling the left. About the third lap, she started slowing, hopping a few more times, and then just settled into a steady lope. She spooked a little bit, but it wasn't long before she settled in. By the time I brought her back around, lathered and blowing, Lottie was laughing from the fence rail. I swung down, grinning sheepishly. Well, that she-devil gave me a run for my money. I got the saddle off her easily enough and hung it on the rail. We went inside. Mara met me in the doorway, arms crossed. I saw you taking a swim in the water trough, she smiled. I wiped my face, grinning. I'm a little rusty. Yeah, you looked it, she said, handing me a damp cloth. Smiling, she winked at me. I laughed. We sat down to eat, 2 pork chops each, mashed potatoes and gravy with fresh green beans out of the garden. Sunlight poured through the window, warm and quiet. I leaned back after the second bite. Slower than before, my ribs ached, my shoulder throbbed, but for the first time in a long while, I wasn't thinking about where I'd be going next. I just felt still. For a brief moment, I thought, I wish I could stay here, but I knew I'd be riding on.